there and welcome back to my channel. So today's video has been a long time coming, a very, very long time coming. And to tell you the truth, I have been putting it off on purpose because I never felt like the collection was complete, and it really isn't 100% complete today, but I think I am completing it today because I don't even know if I'll be continuing to buy fragrances in this range. But never say never. I think I should just make this now so that it's the most helpful for you guys in the moment, and I can always update it down the road. With my luck, I'm sure tomorrow, as I'm filming this, literally tomorrow, I will find more to add. But anyways, we will get started. If you haven't seen already from the title, this is going to be my pink sugar range video that I've promised so many of you is coming. I've got 10, including the original. So I've got the original and 9 flankers. I think that is a very, very good start. Well, more than I would need to make this video, but I will say right off the bat, the ones I'm missing are in this like pink sugar range by Aqualina, obviously, is the extract, which from what I understand is just an oil form of the original that people say is kind of missing some of that like burnt sugar licorice scent, but that it's almost identical to the original and it's an oil. It's practically impossible to find out. And again, like I mentioned, I don't really mind that I don't have that because I'm not a huge fragrance oil person anyways. And then the 2 fragrances, like actual sprays that I'm missing, one of them is black sugar, which I do actually really want. It's probably the flanker I've been most interested in finding, and I have never ever seen it sold online anywhere, so I would like to get that. It's supposed to be more of like an amber oud version. And then the newest one, which I have yet to see sold anywhere, I've just seen on Fragrantica, which is red velvet. And again, I was excited, but then I looked it up, and everyone who's gotten it until now has pretty much said that it's kind of the middle ground between the original and gold sugar. And because of how I feel about gold sugar, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, we'll get to it, I'm no longer really interested in picking that one up either. So anyways, I wanted to get those 3 out of the way. Those are the only 3 in the range that I'm missing, 2 sprays and an oil. If at any point I get them, then I can do a part 2 to this if you guys are interested. So now we can actually get started. If you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. You know what to do, all that good stuff, and more is in the description box. And we will start with pink sugar itself, the original. If you know me at all, just prepare yourselves. This is going to be it's going to be like the 4711 video that I did where I get into the nitty gritty. This is more of like an educational comparison video. So get a drink, lean back, clean your room, whatever you're doing. This is going to be a long one. My history with pink sugar, I feel like I'm very, very well versed in this scent. I actually brought scent strips because I figured there's no way I'm going to be able to get to the intricacies of all of these scents on my body. I feel like I'm really well versed to talk about this scent because I've been wearing it for ever, like literally a decade, I would say. I remember like this when it was like really popular in Sephora days. I've just like been wearing this, like I said, forever and ever and ever, and I've gone through several bottles and I always have one on the go. Ever since I started wearing this, like I said, probably a decade ago, I've never been without it. And that, like, there aren't very many fragrances in my collection that I can say that about. I think only 2, maybe 2 or 3 where I've repurchased and always had it in my collection, and this being one of them, because not only is it obviously a scent I enjoy and I actually really like on its own. I've mentioned this before, but this is my favorite layering fragrance ever of all time. If at any point I need to sweeten up a scent and I want to do it like I really want to go for it, this is the scent I go for. Hands down, I feel like it is the easiest way for me to sweeten up a fragrance. It's the easiest way for me to boost up sweetness and lasting power in one easy spray. And honestly, it's everything that people have said it is. I don't think it gets enough credit. I know that it gets some credit. Obviously, it's a very popular scent, but I think bottle, house, name, note-wise, I have long said that I think this gets kind of written off as this girly, like kind of nothing cheapy. And I completely disagree. I think there is actually a complexity to this that is very under the radar, and the lasting power and performance of this I think is actually incredibly impressive compared to the price, and you really get a lot of bang for your buck with this. It does smell exactly like what you would think it would. It's very candy floss, cotton candy, caramel, burnt sugar vibes. There is an element of licorice vibes to it that I feel like people can smell to varying degrees. And I think that's the main thing that I will say throughout the pink sugar range, is that depending on how you feel or how your skin reacts and how to the scent and how you feel about those really strong scents that will be in whatever flanker, that really determines your preference of this range. Because on my skin, for example, I get, I think, a really like good baseline of what pink sugar is, and I don't get too much licorice or too much cotton candy or too much of that burnt sugar, and it's like a really perfect balance on my skin and to my nose. But I do know that the licorice in particular and the burnt sugar scent is something that can really make or break this for you. So I think this is a good baseline. From now onwards, we can, or I will definitely keep comparing to the original, because there are some that are very, very close to this, where I would say you can, in my view, just choose one or the other. And there are others that stray so far away. Like, there's a really good array of scents. But I have said, and I will say before we get started, that in general, I've had such a long-term love for pink sugar that I've been disappointed that the flankers like never quite get there. And yet I keep giving them a try, obviously, as you can see with 9 flankers. So the order I'm gonna go in is the order that they're listed on Fragrantica. They're not by release order or anything. I don't know why they're in this order, but just to keep myself on track, and if you guys are following on Fragrantica, this is the order they're listed in, minus the ones I don't have. So I know the first one that's listed is black sugar. We're just gonna skip it and move on to blue sugar. So blue sugar, you may remember, I have in this huge decant, which I always forget. I think it's like 200 ml or something, that I got from Fragrance Buy in one of their more recent sales. I know a lot of you guys did as well, but it's a decant. Whoops, it's a decant that's in this metal canister. So obviously it was very hard to wear, and so I've decanted it myself in these 30 ml glass, like very dark black glass decants that I've got. And I really, really prefer putting them in larger decants for my personal use. That's why I got a whole bunch of these 30 mils, which have really helped. So let's spray this one. This is supposed to be a men's fragrance. I think this one and maybe Steel Sugar are supposed to be, I'm not sure, but honestly, I'm just gonna review everything as completely unisex, more so honestly female leaning, but wear what you want. So blue sugar is right off the bat, is a flanker that smells different to the original. You can just tick that box. You don't have to worry that it's so close to the original where you have to skip it. It definitely smells different. The main thing to me when I smell it in comparison to the original, and I'm gonna keep going back, is there is much more sourness to this to begin with. Like there is a real tart sugar vibe to this that really is not in the original, and it immediately sets it apart. And I feel like it brings almost like the way like sometimes a honey note can be sort of sour, that's just like what immediately stands out to me. And it makes it also that it's a lot more sharp, obviously. And I feel like when I first opened the canister before I even decanted it, I was really almost taken aback by how sharp it really was to begin with, because I was like, wow, this, I mean, it smells different, but it's also like, it almost takes your breath away right in its opening. Note-wise, I would say there is, on my skin, much more of like a licorice star anise vibe to this, and way less of like a cotton candy scent. Like this has, like I said, the kind of like sour, almost like citrusy, honeyed opening. But then as it starts to wear, it never gets like as sweet as Pink Sugar. It never gets cotton candy sweet, even though there's cotton candy in this, as there is, I'm pretty sure, in all of them. It never really ventures into that area. It just kind of stays in its own lane, and it really, I think, is driven strongly by like star anise. And I know that's a pretty divisive note, so if you don't like star anise or licorice, even like patchouli, there is like a real just tinge to it that in my view makes this one harder to wear, and I'm more likely, obviously, between the two, I'll just keep comparing everything to the original, to go for the original Pink Sugar over Blue Sugar. All right, so the next one I actually do have in its proper bottle, and it's in a smaller bottle actually. It's in a 30 ml, and this is Gold Sugar. And now you guys, before I picked this up, because I picked this up at Shoppers years ago, I was so, or Winners or Marshalls, I forget now. I was so excited. This was one of the flankers that I was keeping my eye out for, this and Black Sugar, like I said, because the notes on this, they were really, really intriguing to me. It was supposed to be a lactonic version of the original. It had listed creme brulee, it had listed coconut, it had whipped cream, it was supposed to be musky and sandalwood and everything. And let me just say, I have not worn this in ages because of how much I disliked it. So we're gonna rediscover this. I truly have not pulled this out in absolutely ages. Okay. So it is better than what I remember, because like I said, it's been years now since I've worn this. What I will say, again, this one is quite a bit different from the original. Now smelling it right after Blue Sugar and having taken such a big break, I will say I prefer this to Blue Sugar. Blue Sugar has a real, I don't know if it's the mandarin in the opening in that one, but it really does get sour and almost like a sour honey, because there is sweetness in there. This has like the mandarin opening, but it is way softer. There is a lactonic tinge to it, which I think at the time I really did not appreciate. And there is like a sweet whipped cream to it. And honestly, this is like, it's a good way for me to rediscover this, because now having smelled it after so much time, it does make me interested in trying Red Velvet, which I know I just said I wasn't, but on my skin, this just really turned me off. I'll be honest, it really just turned me off after a while. I couldn't stand it, and there were a number of times where I had to just shower and scrub it off. And like I said, this was years ago, but I felt like it stopped being lactonic and sweet, and it just kind of became like almost sticky. And yeah, it's the best way to describe that, like, yeah, I think the best way to describe it is just that it felt kind of cloying in a way that you would think and you would imagine the original to smell much or be more cloying, because it actually is more sweet than gold sugar. But gold sugar on my skin personally just got a little bit, just too much of a good thing is kind of how I would describe it. I did take several years break, and now having smelled it, and especially having gotten so many other flankers, because this was an early flanker to my collection, I can appreciate a lot more now where gold sugar was coming from. And like I said, you might be getting a red velvet, if I ever find it, review in the works, because I can see something in between this and pink sugar being very much up my alley. But I will just say it's not as milky as you might imagine it to be. And it does have a tendency on the skin, or at least on my skin, to get to the point where it's just like you're suffocating of too much of a good thing. Okay, so that's gold sugar. The next one, I was very excited to try. I think I was excited. I really went like blindly in love with all of these flankers before I picked them up, because I just keep giving pink sugar a try. But this one in particular, I was really excited because they had, like, it was the first one that I noticed a bottle change. So I'd seen this in a couple people's videos at like TJ Maxx hauls, they would find them, and pink flower, just, I was excited. I was like, great, it's gonna be like a floral take. I love a floral fragrance. It's a little bit different. It is still to date my favorite bottle out of all of them. But you guys, okay, again, it's been a while, but yeah, at least I can say I feel exactly the same way about this one as I thought I did. I also took a long break with this one. Not as long as gold sugar, but it's been a very long time. And pretty much since I hauled it, I have taken a break. And this really is because this is a chypre. I feel like this one very much is different from the original. There is a raspberry note right in the opening, which immediately is not my vibe. Raspberry, I've mentioned before, if done incorrect, there's very few times where I appreciate raspberry in a fragrance. Let me put it that way. And this is not the worst of it, but it's definitely up there. I will say, if you like Nomad by Chloe, this is an inexpensive scent you will like. It's that sort of chypre where it's sort of got this fruit chouly thing going, which I feel like it's very much been done that. This is an inexpensive take on it. It is a more approachable take on it. It is a slightly more youthful take on it, but I get none of that original candy floss, candy, like cotton candy, sweet caramel original in this. Completely deviated from the original, and which is fine, but it's deviated in a way that I personally don't particularly love, because it's got that patchouli in its base that I honestly can smell all throughout. It's quite strong, and the raspberry in its opening. I will say, out of all my fruit choulis, if I was ever in the mood for one, this is probably in my top 5, top 3 even, but it's just those moments are so few and far in between that I would really say, if you like a fruit chouli, if you really like Nomad by Chloe, then that's for you. But if you're looking for a flanker to the original that still has something of the original, that one really does stray in a different direction. Okay, so the next two I'm excited to talk to you guys about, because I have done first impressions and hauls on them relatively recently. They're the newest, well, no, they're not the newest, because now I got blue sugar, but there are some of the newest that I think have come out, because Red Velvet is the newest and I don't have it, but they were very hyped about online when they were getting released, and I think one for good reason and one let me down. So we'll start with Berry Blast. I was so excited for this one. This was supposed to be the twin sister of the original, with Pink Sugar smelling like pink cotton candy and Berry Blast smelling like blue cotton candy. And I was always a blue cotton candy child. When given the choice, I preferred blue cotton candy, and I was just a huge cotton candy child in general. I've taken a break with this one because I want to give myself and the fragrance a really fair shot. And I think when I was first trying it out, I bought in so many fragrances around that time that I don't think I gave it a full appreciation. And I'm glad I did take a break, because in the beginning, and you will remember if you watched that haul, I was really disappointed by how similar this smelled like the original, like truly almost to a T. When I was doing that haul, they smelled identical to me. And it was like a slight blueberry opening, and I was really excited about the blueberry blackberry opening. And at the time, they smelled so similar. Now, having taken a break and I gave myself time to just smell this on its own, I can say that there is a difference in the opening that I just couldn't smell when I was trying a lot of other fragrances. And I'm really happy that I can smell the difference, because I really like it. I think there's absolutely that synthetic blueberry blackberry opening. It smells blue the way that you would imagine. It smells way more blue than Blue Sugar. Blue Sugar does not smell blue. Blue Sugar, it's one of my least favorites, if not you'll get there. But this one is like the best thing that I think they could have done with the scent of being kind of like a berry or the blue cotton candy version of Pink Sugar, because now I think I appreciate it a lot more. That I feel like in the base and even the heart, they are quite similar. And I think at first I was just taken aback by truly how similar they are, because the other flankers have a lot bigger of a difference. I do still think they are very similar. Maybe to the point that the average person in their collection wouldn't necessarily need both. And you could just see which you prefer, if you like a more pinky caramel burnt sugar, or a more berry, like blueberry blackberry opening cotton candy vibe. I think there is a slight difference also in the level of sweetness. Very slight, but when you're smelling them next to one another, there was a little bit more of a sharp sweetness in this, and a little bit more of like a creamy sweetness in this. I like both. You know, gun to my head, I would still pick the original. It's just more my vibe there. I do really like Berry Blast though, and I think I will wear it a lot more now than I thought I would at the beginning, when I'm like, these just smell the same. It's just like slightly different. I just felt like it was a cop-out, but I like now, and I can appreciate now why they wanted to stay so faithful to the original with this one, because it's supposed to be kind of like, I don't know, a sister to the original. But yeah, I do really like it. I don't think the average person needs to have both, unless you are like me and you want to, and you feel like it's enough of a difference for you to warrant having both. Also, they're super inexpensive, and if you live in Canada, then they're $19.99 right now at like almost every Shoppers. So then it got released at the same time as Creamy Sunshine, and I have to say, I was actually thinking I would like Berry Blast more, but in the end, I ended up liking Creamy Sunshine more. And I feel like this was also a moment where, depending on who you were, you're either a Creamy Sunshine person or a Berry Blast. And I was a Creamy Sunshine. This is my favorite flanker, I think I could say. Well, we'll see. But this is definitely one of my favorite flankers. I think this one, out of everyone, really is the best at towing the line between being different enough where I think it absolutely warrants having this in your collection if you have the original, but it's a different take to the original. It's supposed to have a lot more of like a coconut and tiare flower, like Caribbean white florals and coconut sweetness to it, and I completely get that on my skin. I feel like it could have even had more coconut personally because I can never get enough, but I really do get a nice tropical feel to this that is driven a lot by like tiare flower and just like sweet vanilla, a little musky. It's got none of that tartness that some of the ones I don't like have. And even though it doesn't smell super cotton candy like, it still has just like remnants or like whispers of the original and just like pink sugar smelling vibes. I really like it. I think it's a really nice summer flanker. I think it probably is best during hot weather, and I can't really see myself reaching for it a whole lot in fall and winter, whereas pink sugar, the original, I wear year round no matter what. This, I feel like, just because of the beachy florals, unless you're someone who wants to wear beachy scents all year or you live somewhere where it doesn't get cold, that one to me smells the most summery of them all. Okay, so the next one, it smells so great around here, by the way. The next one is one I've been looking for a while now, Pink Sugar Sensual. I've been excited about getting this one. I think this is my newest. I'm honestly not sure. I think this is the newest to my collection because I was looking for this one and black sugar, and like I said, I haven't been able to find black sugar. So I was excited about this one, especially because it seemed like it was going to be quite a bit different based on the notes. It had like candy, I think. It was supposed to have strawberry in its notes. And it didn't list, it was supposed to have orange blossom, and it didn't list the cotton candy note at all that the original and a lot of the flankers had. So I will say, very different. It does smell very different. It is kind of going in its own direction, the way Gold Sugar was, but in a different direction altogether. This one is very fresh. Comparatively, I don't think it's a fresh scent, but it's the first time where I feel like I get some freshness, and it's probably the bergamot and this candy, like orange blossom scent that, again, compared to like rich caramel, deep vanilla scents, this is much more fresh and more uplifting. I really do like this. It strays quite a bit away from the original, so I will say that. You will not risk in feeling like it comes way too close, but it might be too far out of range for someone to just blindly buy it and assume that they will like it. I really like it. I think it's a great addition. It's a scent that I'm definitely going to be wearing, but this could almost have been its own thing. To my nose and on my skin only, it's quite a bit away from the OG. I just really, really like it. So if you're going to be very different from the original, at least it's done in a really beautiful way that personally I enjoy, because I feel like these two, for example, both have strayed very far from the original, but this is a stray that I like, and this is a stray that doesn't work for me. This one, I will say, if you like kind of more shampoo-y fresh scents, then this is or if you've always found the original Pink Sugar to be a tad too much, that might be a flanker to try. So then we are going to move on to the only one I have in a sample, and it's actually kind of a bigger sample than usual, and I have to remind myself because I'm pretty sure I really liked it. Oh, I wasted a spray. I'm pretty sure I liked it, but I want to remind myself because it's been a while. Okay, no, I remember. This I didn't like. This is one I'm really glad I tried in a sample, because I would have fallen down the rabbit hole of wanting to try it out. This also has raspberry in its opening. I'm just gonna have to blame it on the raspberry because there is a, it was supposed to have tea. I mean, it does have tea. I get no tea in this. I do get a sort of raspberry, patchouli, like tonka vibe to it, that it is like borderline. It's like right on the borderline of edging towards being even a little bit bitter, which might be the coffee. So this might be totally up your alley if you like those scents. Not that it's bitter. I mean, all of these scents are ridiculously sweet, but this just isn't going to do it for me. It does have some of the original pink sugar. I mean, it much more than Sensuelle, I would say. You can get an idea of that's what it's supposed to smell like, but I can't imagine myself ever needing a full bottle of this. I feel like the dry down of this on my skin, I actually can pick up a lot more of that coffee scent, but I wouldn't say it's like a coffee fragrance. There's just, the raspberry thankfully in this dissipates quicker than the other one, but yeah, I wouldn't personally need a full bottle of this. I think it's again just one that's going to get a little bit too cloying and sticky on my skin, and one that I personally don't enjoy. And once that sample is done with, I'll just keep the sample as reference for these kinds of videos, but it's not one I really reach for ever. The next one is Simply Pink by Pink Sugar, and my bottle is a little bit destroyed because this, and I will mention, is kind of like an overspray, and it it just kind of like wears off, and you can kind of like scratch it off, which is annoying. But you will see, or you might see, that I have used quite a bit of this, and you will think, oh, that is because she likes that scent and has been reaching for it. You'd be wrong. I have a huge love-hate relationship with this fragrance. Part of it is personal and some of it isn't. So the first thing is I have like bad scent memory attached to this because there was a portion of my life where I was wearing this all the time, and I was like, now it just reminds me of those times. However, you're not all gonna feel that way. I think this is another case where the scent is just trying to do way too many things all at the same time. This has the raspberry opening, but then it has almond. I love the almond. I don't like the tartness. This has like a really nice white floral and strawberry. I think they kind of clash with one another rather than being complementary. This has a little bit of that vanilla and kind of like a vanilla praline like sweetness, but it doesn't have the cotton candy. It's a little bit all over the place. It's a whole lot of everything. And I think I would have preferred if it was just kind of like an almond praline take on it, and it was a little bit more simple and simply pink rather than everything in the book. I do like it more than some flankers, but there's a lot of scent memory attached to that. And now smelling it, I still have, like, it's still very reminiscent of those times, and I still feel like it's a little bit too busy. So compared to the original, there is some comparison for sure, but the original far and away is a better match and a better fragrance, I would say, than Simply Pink. And then finally, last in this whole range is Steel Sugar. I do wonder, I think Steel Sugar is also one where, let me spray it one more time. I think I missed it. Steel Sugar is another one. I got a tester bottle, so it doesn't have a cap. I think Steel Sugar is another one that's for men. And I would say between Blue Sugar and Steel Sugar being like the men's fragrances, it is hands down clear which one's the better pick. And of course, I have more mils of the one that's worse. Steel Sugar is infinitely better than Blue Sugar. If you're looking for a men's fragrance in this range, I will also say, while it is more male leaning than Blue Sugar, which I think is not like, it's very unisex, but actually feminine, this is a much better scent for women to wear. Like, you could just wear, it might be more male leaning, but it's much, much better. And I actually really enjoy it. This has a kind of like clove, cinnamon, cedar, spicy, but like also spiced vibe to it that I think is beautiful. It has like a tinge of tobacco, labdanum. It's really, really nice. And I was actually really surprised by how much more mature smelling this scent was, because while I think Pink Sugar is complex, I wouldn't say it's like a mature scent. And this is definitely the most mature. And also, it just smells warm. Like, it smells like fall vibes. I would love to smell this on a guy, but I really like wearing this myself. And I think this is like the perfect fall version of Pink Sugar that goes a little bit more unisex and a little bit more masculine. And I love it. And this is what Aqualina should be doing in a scenario where they're making like a men's fragrance. This is exactly right. I have no notes or recommendations. I love it. And for me to like a fall vibe fragrance, hating fall, is a big like stamp of approval. So love that one. Okay, so those were all the reviews. I have kind of divided them into the amazing, the average, and the bad. And we will start with 2 bads. There's 2 in this range where I feel like, in my opinion, they're sort of irredeemable, and I think they're just like all around bad, in my opinion, so I wouldn't really recommend them at all. And they are Pink Sugar Sparks, which there's just something about, okay, no, let's restart. Let's restart. All right, so those were all the fragrances, and to help you guys, now that I've done these little reviews, I have kind of divided these fragrances into the best, the worst, and the average. That is pretty much based on your take and how you feel about them. So I have 4 bests, 1 worst, and everything else an average. I'm just gonna say the worst one is the one where I feel like really I don't see anything redeeming about it personally. So unless you're collecting or unless it works for you, I wouldn't really recommend it. So the worst out of all of them is Blue Sugar for me. Is it funny how I have hundreds of mils of this? Absolutely. I should actually sell decants of this one. It's just not doing it for me. It's the worst out of all of them. Is it a scent that I will absolutely never wear in my life? No. But it's just doing way too much with the sour vibes. I've already just went into full detail about why it doesn't work for me. So to me, that is the worst. The ones in the middle, I would say, and there's 5 of them, are Gold Sugar, which I'm gonna be wearing a whole lot more after this. It might move its way up into best because I'm really liking it right now. But I would say, for all those reasons and the past and everything, it does stray a little bit far away from the original. It might be too lactonic gourmand for some people, but anyways. Another average is Pink Flower. I couldn't make this a worst based on my opinion and my opinion alone, because there's a lot of people out there who love a chypre. And I will say again, this is a better fruit chouly chypre than some other ones in my collection, and I have reached for it before, so I'll say it's definitely average. Berry Blast, to me, I'm gonna put in average, because once that opening goes away, it's just too similar with like it's just too similar to the original, but it's like been stripped of some of its interesting notes. And so I'm just gonna have to put it in average. To me, it's the lesser of the 2. So if you like it, then perfect, but for me, it kind of falls short. Then another average is Pink Sugar Sparks. It's okay. Like, it really isn't bad the way Blue Sugar is, where I can't wear it, but I just don't see, again, a reason to kind of shell out for this one when there are better ones in the range. It's sort of a little bit more fruity, less cotton candy version. And then the last average one is Simply Pink. It's just doing a whole lot. There are some notes in this I love. I love the almond. I love the floral notes, the orange blossom, but it's just doing a whole lot, and it's kind of run-of-the-mill average. Then the 4 that I think are the best are actually the 4 out of the range that I think everyone, if you guys have, you're kind of covering all your bases. The first one obviously is the original. It's the best one. I think if you have this, you're set, and then the next 3 flankers will kind of cover everything in between that this can't give you. But obviously I think this is part of the best category. Then the best summery version, I would have to put Creamy Sunshine. This is coconutty, it's white florals, it's tiare flower. This is the summer flanker you need. It's amazing, I love it, and I think it'll kind of cover you for the warmer months. Then if you need we'll do this one, a kind of like fall winter, this is it. The fall winter version is Steel Sugar. It almost has a tinge of like Coca-Cola vibes to it as well. So if you like that, then you'll love this. But yeah, that kind of covers your spring, summer. This is your fall winter flanker. It's amazing. And then for the in-betweens, for the cleaner, fresher days, for the days where you just need something a little bit lighter than all 3, Pink Sugar Sensual is beautiful. It's just different enough. I really, really enjoy this one, and I think it's a really beautiful scent overall, even if it's not in this range. I just think it is a really, really nice scent to wear. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am exhausted. I felt like this is the most in detail review I could give you of the entire range, so I hope it's helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comments below which one of these fragrances and which flankers you've tried, you'd like to try, or you've got your eye on, and hopefully this has helped you in your future purchases. Definitely let me know if you've tried any of the ones I'm missing, so Black Sugar, Red Velvet, and the Elixir. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!